Greetings, everyone. My name is Davina Liggins from Healing Made Whole. Happy New Year to all of you. This is my first video in 2023, so hopefully everything's going well with all of you. I'm not going to be before you long today. I just wanted to come and talk to you about the Daniel fast. Many people of the Christian faith are doing the Daniel fast in the month of January. And for those of you who do not know, it is a fast, a partial fast. There are many different types of fast, but this is a partial fast where certain foods are omitted. And it's based on Daniel in the Bible. And if you want to look into it more, it's based on the book of Daniel, chapter 10, 2-3, where he restricted bread, meat, and wine for 21 days. And then Daniel chapter 1 verse 12, where he only ate vegetables and water for 10 days. And in general, in this fast, what people do is they come together as community in the church, and they omit caffeine, meat, leavened bread, processed food, alcohol, dairy, eggs, sweeteners, sugar, and even natural sweeteners. In some cases, people also omit that. So it's a fantastic fast, and I really like it because it also omits some of the inflammatory foods like dairy. And so it's a fun time, and so you can look more into it. But I just want to give a little bit of principles about the Daniel fast and how you can use it moving forward. And I would like to say that, as you can imagine, omitting all of the foods that I just indicated has a very profound effect on the human body in terms of health, and changing many different aspects, including different parts of the disease. Like, for example, cutting out refined sugar and a lot of all of the ultra processed food. Imagine what that would have, the effect it would have on someone with type 2 diabetes. So I bring this up to say is that make sure you inform your doctor what you're doing, and you may need to start monitoring yourself a little bit more closely, like your blood pressure, blood glucose levels, and etc. So just be mindful. It's very powerful fast, so pay attention to that. So point number one that I have is, you want to ask yourself, when the 21 days is over, or however long your group is doing it, why go back? Why go back to the old eating habits? And really ask yourself, why am I putting this particular food back in, or this food category back into my diet? And really sit down with a sheet of paper and ask yourself and answer honestly, what will happen if I keep it out? What will happen if I put it back in? In the 21 days, you have rearranged your life to accommodate this fast, which shows you that you can do it. And rearrangement of your life is well worth it. It is worth it. The health benefits outweigh the cost that it takes to maintain it. And I just want to throw out some common reasons why people may put it back in. Well, they just say the fast is over, or out of convenience. A lot of times processed foods, they're convenient. It's an old habit. It's just what I do. Well, those are not good enough reasons, in my opinion. So really look at it, really assess the situation. And I would like to say in point 2 is that the Daniel fast can be used to build a new foundation in your life. And that piggybacks off of point number 1. But I just want to say it as such. Use it as a springboard to launch a new lifestyle. So keep it going. Some food items will come back into your diet, and some food items you make a conscious choice not to put them back in. Okay? So that's point number 1. And point number 2. Point number 3 is that the Daniel fast does not have to be done just in January. Your core group or your church, your organization, you can implement this throughout the year, every quarter, or biannually. This is a very powerful tool to support people's health and to help them, one, reorganize their life for a healthy lifestyle, and two, to have community to do it, to actually have that support system. It is fantastic. You have come together with people of like mind eating a certain kind of way. Gather them back up. You know, you're doing it in the month in January. Say, hey, April and September, we're doing this again. This is going to be a quarterly or biannually thing for our church. And I like to say there are a lot of people who are suffering in the church with metabolic disorders and diseases like type 2 diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, you name it, prediabetes. And having this as a tool in your church to foster healing that many are in the church praying for, I would take full advantage of this opportunity, and to keep it going. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 is that oftentimes with the Daniel fast, the emphasis is just on the spiritual component of it. It is a fast. Most people are doing it to set the year. This is all great and wonderful. However, we cannot separate the spirit from the physical. We can't. So they're intertwined. And so what I encourage you to do is not only just journal your spiritual revelations and insights that you get, but also what's happening to your body during this fast. Be very observational about any changes in your symptoms, like for example, arthritis, or how you feel, any change in your mood, headaches. What does it feel like to go through refined sugar withdrawal, ultra processed food withdrawals? How well are you dealing with that? Just also focus on the healing aspects of the fast in addition to the spiritual aspects. So also keep that journal. And as you start putting foods back in your diet, notice whether or not you see any changes even then, because that can help you to pinpoint what foods that you omitted are contributing to a certain symptom or alleviation of a certain symptom, such that when you put it back in, you now notice more swelling in the legs or the joints, or the headache returns, or what have you. 21 days is a good enough time for you to start to notice some changes. Not everything is going to change, of course. So it's worth journaling and making note of that. And I like to say, on a community level or a church-wide level, you know, oftentimes people get together for prayer groups on a weekly basis. You can also incorporate a question at the end as you go through the prayer and the spiritual aspects of it. At the end, you can say, how's your healing journey? How are you responding to this? Is your body telling you anything? And you can just leave it as food for thought. Maybe you don't discuss it on that call or at that time, but allow people to have the space, or introduce them to their body and what's happening, and encourage them to keep track of that. And I like to say step number 5, some people go on, or point number 5, some people go on the Daniel fast, but it's not really a stretch for them, because they may eat that way in general, or it's not really a sacrifice. So what you can do is you can step outside of the lines a little bit on the Daniel fast. You know, for example, this was my situation a number of years. I've done the Daniel fast many years, and I absolutely enjoy that. And because I had cut out meat, I don't do dairy because I'm lactose intolerant. There's just so many things. I was already eating almost no ultra processed food because I had really started using dietary changes as a means for healing in my body, in my health journey. So I was like, okay, what am I actually doing here? How can I really bring about the sacrifice? So what I did was cut out gluten. And because you're allowed to have unleavened bread, so you can have tortillas, anything that doesn't have like yeast or anything that causes the bread to rise. So I decided to cut out gluten. I knew gluten can be inflammatory, so I was like, oh, I use this as that springboard to cut out another inflammatory food. And it was because of that, I ended up having gluten out of my diet for a year. And I kept it going beyond the 21 days. And then when I put it back in, I realized that I had a gluten sensitivity. So oftentimes you may hear me talk about my gluten sensitivity. It's not an allergy. I don't have celiac disease, but I have a sensitivity to it. And so I just would like to say there's so many things that can come out of this fast, new information that you learn about yourself and your body. It may require for you to go above and beyond the format of it, but it's a very powerful tool. And I would like to say, as point number 6, which is my last point, is that, grains, fruits, potatoes, starchy foods are allowed on this diet. And I would like to remind everyone that if you have a metabolic disorder, if you have insulin resistance, fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, obesity, try your best on this fast to also maintain a diet that moves you forward in the healing process of these metabolic disorders. So keep the carbs still low. That poses another layer of restriction. Maybe you're still staying with 100 grams of carbs a day, or maybe you're in a ketogenic diet where you're still trying to maintain 50 grams of carbs or less a day. So make sure your overall health goals and plans are incorporated into the Daniel fast. Okay? That's very important. You don't want to be backtracking on your healing journey from these metabolic disorders. So that's all I have for you today. If you're interested, I would be happy to come to your church. Maybe we can do a Zoom call and we can sit down with some of the organizers, maybe the health ministries, and try to use the Daniel fast throughout the year to teach people a healthy way of eating, to jumpstart them on a lifestyle, to actually have that community come together, because support is very important on this journey, and to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle year after year. The church is phenomenal to do that, and you already have this wonderful tool, the Daniel fast, to achieve that healing that many people in the church are seeking. So hopefully this was helpful to someone. And I will talk to you all later. Happy New Year again.